What's up, fish tank people? FishTankTV.com, Dustin's Fish Tanks, bringing it to you on a Sunday, baby. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I am at the American Livebearers convention here. This is my first ever American Livebearers convention. I drove from Lexington. Wasn't sure if I was gonna go to it or not. Had the bad knee. Bad knee is healed up. Drove 5 hours stiff. First one of these shows, first and foremost, just to give shout outs to where shout outs are due. The Maasai Club. That is some strong fish tank people, right? They've had me out to speak. Anybody who's been out here, and you can click the links around. I've done fish room tours of Mike Helwig, Gary Lang, Chuck Kramer. They're all here, right? So this is like a very strong mecca, great club. They actually had an event here. They had their big swap meet auction last week. So they are like a really hardcore area in St. Louis. So I'm thrilled to be out here with these folks, whether they were having a convention or not. Tons of great fish tank people. So I am here today, and I am going to show you guys around the Guppy convention. I've got Jim Alderson here. He gave a great talk. I'm about to peel him away. He's been so kind to give us a tour around all these guppies. You can see a lot of stuff going on behind me. They're going to do judging here in about I don't know, 15-20 minutes or so, and I'm going to probably get some clips of that too. But Jim, if I can steal you, sir. And you can say, if you want to say the cliche thing, I say, what's up, fish tank people? So you could say, you know, say hello and introduce yourself to the wonderful YouTube world of people that aren't familiar with guppies. So say hello.
Hi there, my name is Jim Alderson. Hi there, what's up, fish tank people?
Yeah, he nails it. See, I knew this guy would nail it right out of the gate. All right, so
we're here at the IFGA show in St. Louis, the Gateway Guppy Associates.
Okay, and now, I was born in 1981. This club has been around since 1965, right?
Correct.
Right, so these people are like the senseis of guppies, if you will. They got a lot of super knowledge, some really great guidelines, and I'm just kind of humbled, and I really want to break it down to people because there's like, I know you keep goldfishing, we don't want to go there, but like there's some very strict things that go into guppies that like there's different categories, and we're going to show some of that. But I just want to really give a guppy tour and have you kind of lead the way. You've been a judge for a number of years, so where do we start, Jim? Take it away, man.
Well, let's take a look at some of the basics of the IFGA, International Fancy Guppy Association guppies. These are guppies that have been bred for many times, 30, 40 years towards a specific standard.
That's awesome.
So we are going to take a look.
Point of direction. We'll lead the way, man. Let's give a nice big tour for these folks. So
well, let's take a look here. We have some of the greens. This is a green tank. So by the word tank, that means there are two fish in the tank, and they are supposed to match as well as possible. In other words, supposed to look like each other. And so we are taking a look at these. Now the criteria is that they have to have a delta or veil tail.
Okay.
Which means the angle of the tail has to be 50 or 60 degrees or 45 degrees. And they have to have a green tail with a matching dorsal fin.
The matching dorsal fin is something unique to your, is that correct?
Well, that's kind of unique to our standards. In Europe and the other European and Asian standards, they don't require that the fish have a matching dorsal, but in the US we do.
And just so you know, I was listening to your talk about 1970 was when that was first or something around that? That's
well, but prior to that, it's always been in our standards, but prior to that, most of the fish had a white dorsal fin, no matter what color the tail was.
Guide me around here. Where are some other examples there should be?
So here you have some greens, and you can see these have a little bit narrow angle, more of a narrow angle to the tail. They would be veils. Here we have some greens that are delta tails.
Okay.
And they get a certain number of points for the quality of the fish. And then they also get a certain number of points for the degree in which they match. You can see the quality on these fish is not quite the quality of the fish next door, which are much better. So that would be one example of how we can judge them and make a placing.
Okay.
The next class over are half black reds. So in this class, again, because it's a tank class, there has to be two matching males, but their body has to be half black, and they have to have a red tail and a red dorsal fin.
Wow.
And to qualify to enter in the class. So for most of the classes, the class determination, which class a fish goes in, is placed in, is based on the caudal fin color, or the tail fin color.
Oh, okay.
So we do have albino classes, which is based on the eye color and then the tail color. And so you can see there's various levels of quality, and our judges undergo very rigorous training.
Have to have a 90%, right? 90%.
On the written judges test, they have to have a 90% on the judging exam, and on the visual, they have to have 100%.
Wow. Okay.
So it usually takes an individual anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get their judging card.
Okay, and these are just showing the different classes here.
These are purples. So again, the criteria would be the tail color. They have to have a purple tail, and the dorsal fin should match. And they get points for both the quality of the fish and also for the degree in which they match. Now, when we're looking at color, we divide the color up into 2 categories. One is the density, which is basically the degree or coverage, or how much purple covers the tail.
Can you give me an example of this, or like
well,
show?
These are all pretty much 100% density. In other words, they all have purple tails. But then we look at the intensity, which is how vibrant the color is. And you can see these are a little bit darker, and their intensity is not as good as compared to this pair up here, where the color is more vibrant.
Wow.
Now, the color in the body should match the color in the caudal, so these fish will have points deducted for the green that is coloring the body that is not purple.
Okay.
So those are just a couple of the points that we would point out in judging the fish.
Wow, and it's just...
The next tank are multis. And so the first thing we have to look at with each entry is...
These are insane. Like, I wish I wasn't holding the camera so I could just focus in my own eyes on them, but...
Well, in this class they have to have 3 or more colors. So this particular pair is going to be in trouble because they basically only have 2 colors. So they may get disqualified.
So these right here are in trouble because they don't have...
They're in trouble because they don't have enough of a third color. They have to have a minimum of 15% of a third color. So if they don't, then if someone enters a fish that in a class that does not meet the standards, the judges have the prerogative of disqualifying.
So give me an example of a good three color.
These fish have 3 colors. You can see has a red, a light green, and a black in the tail.
Okay.
So we have the 3 colors, and again, at least 15% of the third color. Now these are another example of 3 colors. You see the white.
And then in your talk, you said about how they got to be swimming around and be active. So these guys are getting points for being active and being around.
We call that deportment.
Okay.
So there's so many points allotted for deportment, and if they're sitting on the bottom of the tank, like this pair up here, they're going to get fewer points for deportment. And so definitely a fish that's active and swimming in front of the judges is going to score better than the fish that is not.
Wow. And these are, and I have some photos of your fish room that I'm going to wonderfully edit over this so people can see your setup, because I took pictures of it during your talk. So, all right, so we are on to the HB yellow. All right, so
well, these aren't very good. Let's move on to these. This class.
See, all right, no, I'm just gonna say from like a novice perspective, he kind of whatever. Like to me, I don't see that. Like that's you know, because I'm just giving from like the layman. Like I'm looking at that going like that's cool as hell.
These are half black yellows.
Okay.
But you can see some of the half black is bleeding into the tail on the one fish.
Okay.
And also the tail shape is poor on the trailing edge.
Okay.
So we've got rounded corners, and there's some indentations in the tail.
I got you. Okay.
So they'll lose points for that. The one fish is partially clamped.
Gotcha.
So they'll lose points for that. So
right. I wanted to point out to like as Johnny Novice here, like I'm going, oh, that's a pretty sweet fish.
Well, and then your eye gets better as you learn more about them.
So
here we have one of our classes. We have 2 classes for albinos. We have red albinos and then any other color albinos. So these would be any other color than red. And you can see these are some blue albinos. They have a nice caudal to dorsal match, and they also have a nice body color match to their caudal fin. So they're going to score big points for matching all around. The idea is that if it's a blue fish, then the body should be blue and the dorsal fin should be.
And I just want to reiterate this. We're looking at 2 fish in this because we're going to go in a second. We're going to go to the singles. So this is harder to do because you've got to get much harder. So this is
and they get twice as many points for winning the tank class as the single class.
Okay.
And this is a swordtail class. We have both single swordtail classes and double swordtail classes.
And those are single, obviously.
And these are swordtails, yes.
Okay. Where to next, my friend?
Let's go over here.
Go ahead. You're good.
Let's go over over here to the singles.
All right, so singles, and Chuck introduced you as a population? Excuse us, folks.
Okay, these are the single green entries, and you notice when you get into your solid colors, it gets a lot more competitive because the quality goes up. And you can see these top 2 green males, very large fish, and we can have as many as 30 fish competing for first through fourth place.
Wow, this is the one you were talking about. 30. Well, that would be 130.
This is one of the classes. You can see we have 12, 14, 17, or let's see, 12 plus 3, 15 entries in this one class, and they're not done benching them yet. So,
and to give some numbers on that, you talked about at AE there was like 600 entries, and you've seen shows with 1,000 total.
Well, the last show was 650 entries.
Where was that show?
Only 3 weeks ago in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I was there, yeah. And but we at the annual show we can have as many as 950 entries.
Wow!
So that's 950 individual balls for the fish. So some of your solid colors classes like red, blue, green, and purple may have up to 30 entries. So I usually do not recommend that a novice start with the most popular solid colors because they may get discouraged because they show so many years without placing. You really have to have a nice fish to place in the top 4. And furthermore, sometimes only a few points separates first from fourth.
And you told me, you mentioned that show that you had that was like a few points and there was 600
if
fish.
You have a really tough class like this, 2 or 3 points can separate the top.
Wow, look at this guy here.
Now these are half black AOCs. These are...
What's AOC mean?
Any other color. So we have a lot of half black classes like half black red, half black blue, half black green. But if we don't have a class that fits the color of fish you raise, this is the class it goes into.
So you got a better shot here. If it is maybe
people breed specifically for this class. So there's people that have 50 or 100 tanks just devoted to this one color. So you can see the popular color in this class is some sort of white with black spots. But you can see there's some variants up here. Here is a mint green color with black spots in this fish. So it's half black AOC means any other color other than say half black blue, half black red, half black green, half black purple that we already have classes for.
Gotcha. Wow. Now we've got half black yellows. Where to next?
Well, let's see what we got.
I mean, just to give you guys the scope of this, like this is here, this whole setup over here, everything we just saw, this whole wall, a lot of like just really great just examples. I mean, this is, I'm just showing the reds just for, and Jim, lead the way, my friend. Benched your, I want to see some of your fish.
Well, I don't know where they went. Okay, well I can.
Well, this guy's.
We usually don't. We try as we're doing the judging. Everybody likes for the fish to be anonymous. So
that makes sense.
If you know whose fish is on the bench, you're not allowed to judge. That makes
sense.
Or if you even, let's say your buddy says, "Bring my fish to the show for me," you cannot judge those fish.
Okay.
Okay, because that means you have prior knowledge of the fish. So we try to be as impartial as possible, and there's 3 judges that judge each class. So even if one person had an opinion and it was not the right opinion, it would be overridden by the other 2.
God, these are beautiful. And Jim, you know, loved your talk. Can you give, while we're looking through some of these, can you give some basic husbandry? Like, you know, I love to poison the 14-year-old kid that mom takes me to the pet store. Give some like just basic stuff for guppies.
Okay.
Get Guppy 101 information, if you will.
Well, the 3 most important things about raising show guppies is start with good genetics.
Okay.
The very best you can afford. B is water quality. Your
B is water quality.
Has to be clean all the time.
Before we go to C, I want to touch on A. You said spend the money on. And I'm going to quote you. You said spend the money on the $50 to $150 on the good fish because you're going to drop $3 grand on your fish up in your fish room or the pump. You might as well.
The setup's going to cost you more than the fish. The fish ultimately are going to be the cheapest part of the adventure.
Right.
So buy the best fish you can afford. And the person who doesn't want to sell you the fish is probably the one you should
that was what I was gunning at. Yeah,
try to get the fish from,
because he's got something to hide.
He's got something they don't, or he or she has something they don't want to let go of.
And you also gave some good advice of, if you want some information out of someone, it's best to buy them as many beers as you can to get the information. Or you said you had some certain people that it took 3 beers to get.
Are of age.
Well, yeah, of course. But you said like it took 3.
Recommend that for.
No, obviously, but you know, you said that if you want to get the goods on how to do some certain things.
It does grease the information if you buy the person liquor.
Oh, that's so, yeah, that's fun. But no, so because a lot of the people that are watching this don't really know just how sweet guppies are, you know, and can
many
be.
of our breeders have anywhere from 50 to 200 tanks.
Wow.
So if you're going to win the grand male overall, which is the most points for males, you're going to need pretty close to 200 tanks. It's going to be tough to do.
But if you're just a young kid, though, I mean, you want good quality water. I mean, you know, get some good fish and just let them roll. I mean, they breed easy, like just.
Yeah, but you really, to keep a line, you need a minimum of 6 tanks.
Okay, all right, to keep a line. I was referring more to like that young kid who wants to, you know, have that thrill of breeding something.
Right,
and then
you can't do it in 1 or 2 tanks.
Right. And then what size tanks? You said you keep most of your breeders in like 2 to 5 gallons?
Yeah,
and then...
I recommend 5s and 10s are good to start with.
Okay.
And again, 6 to 8 tanks per color or line you're going to have. And first, buy the best you can get. Second is water quality. We mostly use box filters.
Right. You showed box filter. You showed a box filter, and I got a photo. I'm gonna link over. Box filter. Bottom of it had lava rock. Top of it had F2 media.
Right.
And the water flowed through it.
We probably sometimes I use a tile. I glue a tile on the bottom of my box filter, so I may or may not put lava rock in.
Right.
But the water has to be kept impeccably clean, or you're gonna get fin rot.
Standard water change. And you said that you do either 50% a week or 10% a day, every other day.
50% twice a week.
Oh, 50% twice a week.
Right. Or 20% every other day, or 10% a day. Is the best.
10% a day is the best way to go.
Yeah. Because you'll get less fin burn.
Okay, makes sense.
I think that one on the end is fine.
This one, huh? Wonderful. The water changes, and then the good diet, and you had a whole big rattle list of how you made your diet.
Right. The most important thing is the live baby brine shrimp.
The live baby brine shrimp is the most important?
Yep.
And you did tests on live baby brine shrimp, and you also said that the blackworms tested the best for
fertility.
Okay.
Not for growing fish. So
okay.
That's different. Now,
so rehash that so people can know the difference on that.
Now the females require more nutrition to make babies than do the males.
Okay.
Because the eggs require a lot of fat.
Okay.
So we will supplement them things with like blackworms or beef heart.
Okay.
Okay. All the guppy breeders I know depend mostly on live baby brine shrimp.
Okay.
Very difficult to raise.
And I saw your setup in your fish room that has that. Oh, here's some albinos. Cool.
So again, these are AOC albinos, meaning any other color albinos. So that means any other color. Now you see it's predominantly blue albinos, but we do have one kind of bicolor snakeskin albino here too.
Nice.
Now the next class over is the variegated snakeskin. This means they have to have a chain link pattern over 60% of the body.
Cool.
And then most of them carry that pattern into the tail and the dorsal fin, as you can see.
Yeah. Man, that doesn't look easy to do.
No, these are a difficult line because the biggest problem is getting adequate length on the tail. They don't tend to grow enough tail. And you can see some of their tails get thin towards the end of the tail.
I see that.
That's one of the problems. This fish probably has the best caudal fin development. He has a nice sharp edge on his tail.
Wow. Wonderful stuff. Well, where can people find out some more information about you all? We'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time. Give us a spiel. Where can people find out more about it? What do you guys events you got going on?
Well, we have usually 6 or 7 shows a year throughout the country. East Coast. We have one in California coming up in June. We have them in the Midwest. Go to ifga.org.
Okay.
We have a show scheduled there. Our main annual show is at the end of the year in October.
Okay.
And this year it's in New Jersey. So, but the entire show schedule The events that are going to be held are on the website.
That's all on the website.
Yeah,
okay.
the locations, phone numbers for everybody. So
wow, phone numbers too. Wow.
Yeah. If there's somebody close to you, emails for all the separate clubs.
I got your email. I'll spare you by putting it on there in case you'll get the.
Well, no, it's all on the website.
Okay.
Every club has their email up there. If there's a club close to you, I encourage you to go to a show
and support these clubs. They've been in since 1965. Like crazy. You just saw the whole video. Like the patterns, the detail. I mean, you could get crazy fish whether you're into breeding them or not. I mean,
well, that's right. If you just want to
have some cool looking guppies,
right?
Like,
you come to the auction on Sunday and we sell some of these guys.
And these guys all have tons of tanks, fry, whatever. So, well, listen, thank you so much for having us out and great talk today. And I like to say tank on. So tank on, everybody.
Tank on.
Perfect.